On the show in Wheelspin, we drive the soon-to-be-launched Toyota Corolla Altis. We also drive the Mercedes new C-Class. In Wheelspin, we take a look at the Hyundai Ion, which is now powered by the 1-litre Kappa engine.
If I were to pop this question to you, to name me one of the best-selling cars of modern times, you would probably be a bit perplexed. This car doesn't come from America, it does not come from Europe, it comes from the land of the rising sun, Japan. Okay, Japan does not have a long history of car making, but yet they have given us some of the best-selling cars of our times. And the one I have was born in 1966. It has sold over 40 million units and is still one of the best-selling cars, the Toyota Corolla Altis. And now it's time for me to get in behind the wheel and bring you a lowdown on the new Altis.
This is the 11th generation of the Toyota Corolla, and in close to 50 years, it has sold 40 million units in around 150 countries. Talk about longevity, and there aren't too many cars in modern times which can beat the Toyota Corolla. In over a century of automotive production, there have been only a handful of cars which have made it past the 50-year mark in terms of continuous production, and the Corolla Altis seems all set to do that. So in that sense, the Corolla Altis is already a historic car, and it becomes all the more relevant because this is an everyday sedan which is made to a cost, and it is the Corolla's proven reliability and lasting build quality which has made it into such a preferred vehicle for literally millions of car buyers.
So what's changed in the new Altis? Well, I don't have to tell you that. Everything pretty much as far as the front end is concerned. New headlamps, new grilles, new bumper with the air dams. In fact, the transformation is complete and she looks good too, doesn't she? As far as the rear is concerned, the tail light cluster has changed, the bumper and the boot lid has both changed. And now it's my turn to go inside and see what's changed there.
This new Corolla Altis is the next generation in the evolution of the Corolla story. But mind you, Toyota doesn't call it a new platform. So under the pinnings, you are likely to find a lot of carryover parts from the outgoing model. But it is the shell and the interior dressing which have completely changed, and changed for the better.
If you step inside this Altis, which is now called the new Altis, you will soon realize why it's called new. Because everything has changed inside. I wasn't particularly fond of the interiors of the old Altis really. To me it appeared a bit dull and drab, but things have drastically changed in here. The fascia now is dual tone with beige and black, and there is a centrally mounted display which is of course touchscreen. It's really nice, and the steering wheel is leather wrapped with multifunction buttons, and the instrumentation too is nice, bright, visible with a blue light. And if you look closely at the speedometer, you will see that it shows you a top speed of 240 kilometers. But I think with a 1.4 litre diesel engine and 88 PS of power, that's being a little too hopeful. You're not going to get there, but nevertheless, this looks really nice. But this is a car which is meant more for the backseat passenger than for driving. So now I'm going to step in the rear seat and see what's changed there, because that's what's going to make a difference to this car really.
The Corolla has always been known for its comfortable ride, spacious interiors rather than for its performance or style quotient. And this new one still sticks to the same formula: substance over style. And this Altis has that in plenty, even though it may turn off a few. The interiors can't be called classy or flamboyant, but what they are is extremely well made and purposeful. Everything here is made to serve a purpose and fulfill a need, and this is what gives the Altis its character and an air of practicality.
I feel the most useful change this new Altis has had is the increase in the wheelbase. The wheelbase now has gone up by 100 millimeters, and that's a lot for a car this size. And this clearly shows itself the moment you step into the car and sit in the back seat. The knee room has gone up by 92 millimeters, and that's really good news for the big and the tall boys. Plus there are little changes like the addition of a reading light here, and another very useful and practical change is the back seat, which now becomes reclining. And this will make the ride even more comfortable for you. And for a car which is positioned as a family sedan and meant more for being driven around and driving it, these little changes to the rear will make the new Altis all the more attractive.
The boot of this Altis can hold 470 liters of luggage, and the rear seats offer a 60-40 split, so you can squeeze in some additional luggage, but they don't completely fold down. It seems the wheelbase increase has gone more into increasing cabin space rather than increasing the boot space. But my feelings are that this Altis would have done well with a little more boot space.
This new Altis too, like the old outgoing model, would be available in both the diesel and the petrol variant. The petrol one is of course the much bigger one, the 1.8 litre unit, but what I am driving right now is the 1.4 litre diesel. If you look at the spec sheet, you might think that this 1.4 litre unit is a bit too small for a car this size, and the car would tend to be sluggish and slow. But once you get in behind the wheel, all these doubts vanish. Okay, this car is not superlatively fast, but at the same time, it's neither slow nor sluggish. In fact, the first thing that hits you is that the engine is really refined. The level of noise and vibration in the cabin is at the bare minimum. It offers a really nice and quite smooth ride. I really like the ride of this car. This is not a car which you'd really like to push around the corner. The suspension soaks up all the bumps and the potholes and the aberrations of the road very, very well. And what it gives the car is a very, very pliant ride. So if you're going to spend time on the back seat, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. As I told you, the new Altis would be available in both the petrol and the diesel variants. I was driving the diesel one so far, but now I'm going to jump into the petrol and see how she drives. This is the petrol variant of the Altis, and actually there is very little to differentiate it from the diesel one, unless of course you happen to look at the badging here, which says VVT, means petrol. But one thing that strikes you the moment you open the door of this car is that in typical Toyota tradition, this car too is very, very well made. The petrol variant of this Altis is powered by a 1.8 litre unit which produces about 102 brake horsepower. This doesn't make it the fastest car of the block, but what it does is that it makes it fuel efficient. The engine is quite refined, the power delivery is linear, and it's quite nice to drive this car.
This engine in this Altis is a carryover from the existing model, but what is new is the 7-speed CVT transmission on the automatic variant, and this does throw up a surprise in the way it goes about doing its job. It's quiet and smooth with no shift shocks as the torque converter goes to work and shifts efficiently. I feel it is this automatic which will be the choice of many, but unfortunately it is limited to only the petrol variant.
I think the main strength of the petrol variant is that it offers a 7-speed CVT transmission, because nothing really beats the convenience of an automatic transmission in stop-and-go traffic. I think the market for automatic transmissions is only going to grow in India, and if this does happen, it is this Altis which will find favors with many, many buyers, because this is really a nice car, it's fuel efficient, it's powerful, and it also has an option of an automatic. Petrol variant too, like its diesel sibling, is tuned in terms of suspension setting more for ride comfort than for handling. Consequently, the ride is very soft and pliant, and I think this makes this car very, very suitable for our everyday use. Globally, this Toyota Altis is positioned as an entry-level sedan with a very competitive price tag. But not so in India, because the Indian market is predominantly hatchback and this is a full-blown sedan, so consequently the price is much higher. And that, I feel, is the only downside of this Toyota Altis here. To me, it looks like that this new Altis is all set to carry forward the legacy of its older siblings and notch up large sales numbers in the near future, because this is a really well-balanced and well-made car. Okay, this is not the fastest or the most powerful, but what it does offer you is excellent ride comfort. And in this new one, plenty of space too, plus lots of features, and this looks good as well. To me, it's a very valuable addition to the Indian market, and all of you are looking for a mid-size segment should have a look at this one.
The Toyota Corolla Altis will be formally launched by the end of this month, and there will be close to 5 variants each for both the engines. And in terms of price, they will certainly go up. Our guess is the quantum of price increase will be in the range of Rs 75,000 to Rs 1 lakh over the existing price.
If I were a part of the Mercedes-Benz design team and working on the new C-Class, and if somebody had asked me, what have you done to the new C-Class, I would have said, honey, I just shrunk the S-Class. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, because the S-Class stands for everything that Mercedes-Benz stands for: luxury, performance and unmatched brand value. And with this new C-Class, I think the gap is going to be bridged somewhat. I'm going to call this new C the Baby S, and if you walk towards the rear of the car, you can see why. Right from the C pillar to the trunk here, it certainly resembles the S-Class. It's much shorter, it's much more stubbier, but at the same time, it's well-rounded. It's very, very like the S-Class. If you were to ask me what's changed in the new C-Class, I'll tell you everything. It's a brand new car. There are hardly any carryovers from the old outgoing C-Class, and it looks a little more matured, little more grown up. In fact, it's well-rounded now, and I like the proportions very much. Now it's time for me to step inside and see what's changed there.
Not only the proportions have changed, but also the dimensions. The new C-Class is longer and also wider. The wheelbase has increased by 90 mm, which means there is more interior space for both the passenger as well as the luggage space has increased to 480 litres. The new C-Class has also shed weight and is lighter by 100 kgs. Add to this a more aerodynamic form, and it translates into better performance and higher fuel efficiency. Mercedes claims that the fuel efficiency has gone up by as much as 20%.
If you step inside the new C-Class, you will immediately realize that this is a brand new car. The fascia is all new, it's restyled, the materials are new, the color schemes are new. And if you have a close look at the instrumentation pinnacle, you will find where Mercedes is getting its ideas from. Obviously motorsports, because this looks really sporty. Chrome ring, a small steering wheel which is leather wrapped with all the multifunction buttons. This looks really nice and comfortable. And obviously there are some carryovers from the S-Class. The Burmester sound system is one of them. The S-Class has 24 speakers, and the C is obviously inspired by the same system and by the same philosophy of giving luxury to its customers. So the interiors of the C has decidedly got better, sportier and more luxurious. What I'm driving here is obviously something you might not get immediately. This is the AMG trim, and this is a lot more sportier, and of course it will be a lot more expensive as well. But even the basic C looks very, very nice.
What we will get in India is the regular trim, which is also quite classy with leather-wrapped seats and all the bells and whistles. While the driver sits behind the 3-spoke steering wheel, but depending on the variant, the color scheme changes. The large centrally mounted 21cm TFT screen on the fascia is the main source of all information you might need. The material inside the cabin is all new, and so is the design. The seats have been designed to offer more shoulder room, and the height adjustment has been increased by 10 mm, while the headrest height can be raised by 55 mm.
In terms of design, I would find it very hard to fault this new C-Class. But there are a couple of design elements which might not really work in the Indian context. One is this ORVM. This is very nice, it's big, it's visible, and it works very well, but where it doesn't really work is in terms of the blind spot it creates. When you're turning the car rear, you can't see very clearly, and that is very important while you're driving in the crowded Indian cities. Similarly, the car has become very sporty and has become very low. But the problem is that the window sill has risen. So if you're a short driver, your visibility is going to diminish, and that's not really a very practical thing for use in India. In terms of the engine options also, the new C-Class gets a wide range now, starting right from a V6 3-litre producing about 333 brake horsepower to a much smaller 1.6-litre petrol. But I doubt you will see this entire range in India. What you will probably see is the 2-litre petrol and the 2.2-litre common rail diesel, which is already doing duty on the E-Class and the other C. But what has happened with this new C is that she has shed a lot of weight, which means a much better power to weight ratio, and this would translate into a much better drivability. The ride has been a pliant one, and it has always been a nice, comfortable car for the rear seat passenger. The suspension has never been so stiff so as to bring in all the bumps from the potholes, and this new seat continues to be so.
Interestingly, we see a host of new features in this new C, and one of them is the head-up display, which we see for the first time in the C range. What this does is display all relevant info on the windscreen in true fighter plane style, so the driver doesn't have to take his eyes off the road while accessing all this information. In terms of safety and driver aids, this C is chock-a-block, and for the first time we see a window airbag as well, in addition to the standard ones. And if you find yourself behind the wheel of this new C-Class, you will find an array of driver assist systems like Distronic Plus, which automatically brakes the car in case it encounters an obstacle, and also helps keep the car within the lane. Brake Assist, which will increase the brake force in case not enough pressure is applied. A Park Assist to help park into a tight slot, and a 360-degree camera view to help you monitor things better. All this will make your drive not only convenient but safe as well. So all in all, the C-Class sports all the Mercedes technology at hand and comes with an airmatic suspension and a 4-matic drive, which is Mercedes' way of telling you that this car has a permanent all-wheel drive, and all this to improve the ride and handling characteristics of the car.
As in the case of any upgrade or a generational change, this new Mercedes C-Class has also had change for the better. It has evolved as a car, and in terms of the design and layout, I find is much more appealing than the existing one, and there are a lot many more bells and whistles to play around with. But the bad news is that this car is probably going to cost a little bit more than the existing C-Class, and the second bad news is that you are not going to see this car till the end of 2014, which means a bit of a wait for you.
The smallest car on the Hyundai stable is the Ion, which was launched to take on the subcompact segment. The Ion, with its diminutive size and pretty looks, could have done just that, but it failed in one very crucial area. The Ion, powered so far by an 814cc engine, failed to deliver the punch or the fuel efficiency of its rivals and consequently disappointed many. But not anymore, as Hyundai has decided to plonk a bigger 990cc VTVT Kappa family engine to boost both the power output and driving pleasure as well. This new power plant delivers 67 brake horsepower as peak power and 95 Newton meters of torque, and it is mated to a 5-speed gearbox. The official ARI fuel efficiency figure for this 1-litre Ion stands at 20.3 kmpl. The result should please many, as the Ion is otherwise quite a competent car with well-made interiors which sports quite a few features which its competitors lack. But to own this bigger engine, you will have to shell out rupees 3.83 lakhs, which is substantially more than the base model priced at rupees 2.8 lakhs. But in this case, you get many more features as well. The Ion 2 is also the most stylish in this class of cars, with carryover of Hyundai's fluidic design philosophy from bigger cars like the Hyundai Verna and the Elantra. The addition of this new engine should make the Ion an even stronger contender in the mini segment, provided of course Hyundai is able to produce enough of these engines and not keep its customer waiting, as is the case now.